All right, everybody, we're going to get started here. Thank you for joining us today for the next of the WolfNet webinar series. This one is entitled the WolfNet Property Search Integration Strategies. We're going to go over a couple of the methods that you can use to implement our IDX into a website or somewhere on the internet. My name is Daniel, and I work in customer service here. If you've called in, I'm sure I've talked to you. Also, we have Jay here. He's going to be answering any questions you may have for him. Feel free to raise your hand and ask away. Why do you want to integrate the WolfNet IDX? Basically, I mean, you could just put a direct link to it from your website to the property search, but that's no good for anyone, be it the user or your site or site optimization, search engine optimization. So basically, it wants to make the transition from your website to the IDX appear seamless. It also makes it just look better in general, which could minimize the bounce rate of people just leaving once they get to a poorly designed or poorly looking site. And some of the methods we'll go over will improve your search engine optimization. The four main methods for integrating this is using frames, which is just HTML code, most likely on a framed base or frame laid out website. The iframe tag is also HTML. It can basically embed a page into another existing website. This is the most common method people use to integrate us with without having to set up a header footer or the custom domain, which are the next two options, which are the more, I guess, the methods that most people use for SEO, overall appearance, and just overall user experience. The frames method, it's basically for use on sites that are laid out with frame sets. If you have an existing frame set site, it's a pretty easy method to do. It's just a bit of code that you need to insert into your site. For instance, on this example picture here, we have a site that's laid out with frames. This is a frame over here, this is a frame up here, and this is one right here. This is just our property search. And it's just some HTML code that you would insert into a page. Let's take a look at an example of a live frame site. Here's one local here, and on the property search you can see they have a top frame, side frame, and then some sort of bottom border. And in the frame where the property search is inserted, you can see there's a scroll bar on the right, which, I mean, the site looks good. It's well integrated using frame sets. But you may want to do something different, or a lot of frame sets design sites aren't, I guess it just isn't that prevalent these days for a new web designer to create a frame set site. But there are a lot of existing ones, and they work fine. They're still compliant with everything. So this is basically an example of our property search in a frame site. The iframe tag is basically just some HTML code again that can be used to pull in our search solutions, the property search, into any website. It's probably the easiest method of integration. And then depending on how you do it, the user experience can remain relatively seamless while bouncing back and forth between the search and your site and back again. Here, the HTML code is just inserted here in the page. They have a little header and a sidebar that the search solution fits nicely in. And we're going to look at the site live here. So this is just most likely, let's see here, this could be a WordPress-based site that uses an iframe tag to integrate our IDX. On the search page, you can see that the top menu bar maintains from the home page. They just added this sidebar with contact info. And this is actually the iframe that's used to their search solution. There are a number of options that you can use the iframe tag. One of them is getting rid of the scroll bars, which you can see them here. You can totally get rid of those. You can add a border. You can make sure the scroll bars show up depending on how you want your user experience to be. And yeah, like I said, it's the easiest method to implement on most sites today. The header and footer wrap is probably what we consider the best integration option, as it provides a very smooth transition to the search from the website, thus increasing the user experience and minimizing bounce rate, people just leaving because of how it appears or how it functions. Basically achieved by wrapping the property search with a file or code or location to file that mimics your website's navigation, architecture, and branding. This gives the appearance that property search is coded directly into your site. And as you can see, it just maintains everything from the original header on the home page, keeps the navigation bar. All these menus will function. And yeah, again, it provides seamless access back to the site and its other pages and content. It can also be used if you just had, let's say, a custom URL, like yourname.com, could go right to a WolfNet IDX. And if you don't want to spend time getting a page set up or an entire real estate page, you could just put a header and footer around it, and with some branding, some contact info. And yeah, we do have a lot of people that just do this as well. An example of a header footer site is the one from the slide here. This, again, I believe is a WordPress site. And let's go to the search here. As you can see, the wrap of the site, the header being this top part and these two sidebars, along with this footer, just make it look very nice. Looks like it's well integrated in the site. One thing you will notice is up in the address bar here, right now the URL is pointing to simplyfloridarealestate.com. Now when we click on search, you'll see that it goes to mlsfinder.com, which is actually our servers, which can be totally separate from the original page that we arrived to this from. And we'll go over a little bit more about that with the custom URL, but basically this is, this again is probably the best way to integrate a site. If you are concerned about SEO, the next method is probably going to be what you're interested in. It's basically the same, the header and footer that we just looked at, but we also have a subdomain set up. Basically, this method is completely seamless to the end user. It never appears like you're actually leaving your domain. As you can see up here in the address bar, we're going to, in this example, jesseolsongroup.com. And when we click on property search, like in the previous one, instead of going to mlsfinder.com, it goes to a subdomain, which is this search.jesseolson.com. And this is basically pointed to our servers, and we have it wrapped with the identical wrap of the site. So there's no transition whatsoever. At least that's apparent to the end user. This is also helpful in increasing search engine optimization, as over time, since this is all under your domain, all of the activity with people looking at listings and whatnot will start getting indexed by the search robots. And a custom subdomain, or the custom domain, can be anything you want. This one we use search. People have used IDX dot or MLS search dot, which, and yeah, it can basically be anything you would like. How that's set up is, once the subdomain is chosen, you would basically point, using your domain name servers, the subdomain to our WolfNet servers. where we have this property search sitting wrapped by your header and footer. An example of this site, again, this is I believe this is a WordPress site. Notice the domain up here of allminneapolishomes.com. Click on Search Properties. Just switches over to search.allminneapolishomes. And even though we're actually no longer on the original web server we arrived at, the user can't tell. Search engines can't tell. They will index this eventually, and this will increase your SEO. So that's basically the methods that we suggest and offer for you. If you have any questions on implementing the first two methods, the frames or the iframe tag, feel free to drop our support department an email at support@wolfnet.com. If you have any questions or we're wondering what the pricing is for the header and footer wrap, custom subdomain, feel free to contact our sales department at sales@wolfnet.com. And that's about it for this webinar. Join us again. We have new ones coming up all the time. Check out our website at wolfnet.com. If you go /webinar, you will see the upcoming webinars. You can also follow us at Twitter at WolfNet. Visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WolfNet. For any other general questions, feel free to email solutions@wolfnet.com. Thank you.